You're telling me coins came from military payroll problems?
This is the real story. Coinage served state needs first, authority, taxes, and war. Then it powered everyday trade.
So Croesus fixed the firmware bug.
Temples were early banks and treasuries where people made offerings.
Hi and welcome. I'm your virtual host, Eddie, and honestly, I don't get why people made the first coins ever. They're just metal circles, right? What's the big deal? So let's ask our Professor Money.
Funny you say that. They may look simple, but the story behind the first coins is anything but. The first coins weren't even pure gold or silver. They were electrum, an unpredictable natural alloy of both, minted by the Lydians in western Anatolia. And the reason they appeared had less to do with markets and more to do with power, control, and paying soldiers on time.
Electrum? Sounds like a superhero metal. Why use a messy mix if you can just pick gold or silver?
Because that's what the rivers gave them. In Lydia, especially around Sardis, gold and silver washed down from the mountains and mixed in riverbeds. People gathered this electrum for centuries. It was valuable, but there was a problem. The ratio of gold to silver varied from nugget to nugget. One piece might be 70% gold, another 50%. If you're paying a mercenary or collecting taxes by weight, you're constantly arguing about purity. Coins, stamped lumps of metal with a guaranteed value, solved that argument.
Wait, guaranteed by who? Some blacksmith with a cool stamp?
By kings. When a Lydian ruler struck a lion's head into an electrum blank, he wasn't just decorating it. He was making a promise backed by royal force. This is worth X. That stamp created trust, and trust made commerce move faster. The stamp also gave the state a new lever, seigniorage, making a profit from minting. If you control the mint, you skim value when you turn raw metal into legal money.
Okay, so Lydia invented branded metal, but how do we know they were first? Didn't China have money super early too? And I've heard of Indian punch-marked coins.
Great questions. China absolutely had early money, spade-shaped and knife-shaped bronze pieces, and later round coins with a hole. India had silver punch-marked coins with multiple symbols. But the timelines matter. Chinese spade and knife money really take off in the late spring and autumn to warring states periods. A couple centuries after the Lydians, Indian punch-marked coins become widespread a bit later as well. The earliest securely dated coinage we have, coins as standardized state-backed pieces with designs pressed into them, comes out of Lydia in the late 7th to early 6th century BCE.
So a lion stamp beats a bronze shovel. Got it. But why a lion?
The lion was a royal emblem in Lydia. It signaled authority. Think of it like a blue check before blue checks. If you saw that lion head, you didn't have to assay the metal every time. You could accept it quickly, especially in busy places like markets, ports, or army camps. Speed matters when you're paying mercenaries who might switch sides if payday slips.
Hold up. Soldiers? You're telling me coins came from military payroll problems?
Partly. Empires need to move logistics fast. Grain, equipment, troop pay, paying by weighed metals slows everything. The Lydian stamp made value portable and fast to verify. Greek mercenaries working for Lydian kings likely pushed for reliable payment. Once the system worked for armies and taxes, merchants followed. This is the real story. Coinage served state needs first, authority, taxes, and war. Then it powered everyday trade.
That already sounds less romantic than market invents money. But you said electrum had purity problems. Didn't that mess up the whole trust idea?
You're thinking like a trader. Good. Yes, early electrum coins still had a purity issue. Even with a stamp, people worried, is this piece more silver than gold? That's why King Croesus of Lydia, yes, the rich guy, made a major upgrade. Around the mid-6th century BCE, he introduced separate gold and silver coinage, not electrum, but two distinct metals with tighter control. This Croesus coinage became famous because it made value even clearer and helped coinage spread beyond Lydia.
So Croesus fixed the firmware bug.
Exactly. And once you have true gold and true silver coins and standard weights, you unlock trade on a scale that earlier barter or weight silver systems couldn't match. Greek city-states like Aegina, with its sea turtle design, minted huge quantities for trade. Athens would follow with the owl. Symbols became brands. Brands became networks. Networks became economies.
But why turtles and owls? Why not write the value on the coin like $10?
Two reasons. First, most people couldn't read numerals consistently. Symbols were universal. Second, value wasn't fixed by a number the way it is today. Ancient coins were valued by a mix of authority, metal content, and local weight standards. A turtle or owl told you the city and the weight system you could trust. Merchants cared about that more than a printed value.
You mentioned weight standards. How nerdy did this get?
Very different regions used different stater weights. Aegina used a heavy standard, Corinth and Athens used others. Think of it like different plug types for the same electricity. Money changers, the real OG fintech, handled the conversions. They made a spread on the exchange and kept trade moving. Coins didn't erase complexity. They gave everyone a common language to argue about value faster.
Where do archaeologists find proof of all this? I don't want some legend. I want receipts.
Receipts exist, buried ones. The big evidence comes from hoards and sanctuaries. In Ephesus, at the Temple of Artemis, excavations uncovered over 100 early electrum coins in well-documented layers. Those finds help date when coinage must already have been circulating. At Sardis, archaeologists found minting areas, furnaces, molds, and tons of coins across later layers. We can map how coinage evolved from irregular electrum lumps to standardized gold and silver pieces.
Sanctuaries kept coins, like a divine savings account.
Kind of. Temples were early banks and treasuries where people made offerings and cities stored wealth. Some coins even got buried in temple walls as ceremonial deposits, helpful for archaeologists dating them.
So what did the first coins actually look like?
Small and thick, usually with a lion's head on one side and a simple punch mark on the back. No writing, just authority stamped in metal.
Sounds like the first iPhone, basic but revolutionary.
Exactly. And, like the iPhone, coinage created an ecosystem. Once coins existed, people built new behaviors around them. Fixed prices, wages, taxes, fines. Laws started quoting penalties in coins instead of vague weights. City-states minted coins to broadcast power and trust. If your city's symbol was everywhere in the marketplace, you had soft power. That's branding 2.5 millennia before marketing books.
I still don't get it. Markets were already using weighed silver and barter. What really made states switch to coins? State power thing? Weren't markets already working with barter and silver by weight? Why change the system at all?
Because coins centralize trust. With weighed metal, every deal needs testing and haggling. With coins, value is pre-verified by the issuer. That saves time, huge in a world of fairs and port trade. Plus, coins are perfect for taxes. When a ruler says, pay your tax in my coin, everyone has to use that coin. That creates instant demand for the currency and lets the state monetize metal on its terms. Coins make subjects dependent on the mint. That's political power as much as economic convenience.
So, coins are a state technology wearing a market costume.
Nicely put. They spread fast. Traders moved coins across the Aegean and exchanged them through money changers. China used round coins with holes for stringing. India punch-marked pieces with symbols. Same idea, different tech. Each region tied trust to metal in its own way. The Lydian version was about kings using natural electrum, fixing purity and stamping trust into metal.
What about counterfeits? If you can stamp trust, someone will fake trust.
They did. Forgeries existed, lower purity electrum with a good stamp, plated pieces with cheaper cores, even off-weight blanks. But the mint and the marketplace retaliated. Official mints refined techniques. Merchants weighed coins, scratched surfaces, and used touchstones. Cities introduced complex imagery and standardized flans. Over time, the penalty for faking coins grew harsh, and the quality of official coinage improved. Croesus's move to separate gold and silver was partly an anti-fraud upgrade.
Did coins instantly replace everything else?
No. For a long time, coins coexisted with barter, IOUs, and weighed bullion. Big deals still used silver by weight or gold bars. Coins were most useful for regular payments, salaries, market shopping, fines, and taxes. Transactions that need speed and standardization. Think of coins as the cash layer on top of a complex system of credit and metal.
Give me a simple timeline.
First came weighed metal. Then, late 7th century BCE, Lydia stamped electrum with lions. Croesus refined it with gold and silver. Soon, Greek city-states minted trade coins. China and India made their own. Same idea, different metal.
What do historians still fight about?
Mostly dates and who ran the mints, palace or private. Some say Aegina led Greece. Most credit Lydia for starting state-backed money.
So were early coins fiat or commodity?
Both. The metal had value, the stamp added authority. If purity slipped, trust in the issuer held it together. Proto-fiat with precious metal training wheels.
If coins started with kings and soldiers, how did everyday people feel the difference? Did it make bread cheaper?
It made buying bread faster. Prices became more comparable across markets. Shopkeepers could post rates in coins instead of arguing over scrap silver. Wages could be set in coin units. That clarity let small transactions flourish. Over time, more trade means more competition, which can pull prices down. But the big win was speed and scale. Markets could be bigger, faster, and more connected.
Okay, but tell me something weird, like a detail I can brag about in a bar.
Try this. Some of the earliest coins we know about were literally buried under temple floors during construction, like a ceremonial down payment to the gods.
One more. Why did Chinese coins have a hole?
For stringing and counting, round coins with a central hole could be strung by the hundred, making payroll and taxes easier to tally. Different technology, same goal, speed plus trust. A stamped round coin in Lydia, a cast hold coin in China, both compress transaction time.
If I had to test a first coin back then, how would I do it without a lab?
You'd weigh it against a set of standard weights. You might nick the edge to check for plating. You could rub it on a touchstone and compare the streak color with a known sample, and you'd look for the trusted symbol, lion, turtle, owl. Good image plus good weight equal to green light.
Was Croesus actually that rich, or is that just a meme from ancient times?
He really ruled a wealthy kingdom. Sardis stood at trade crossroads, and the rivers brought metal. His move to gold and silver coinage made his wealth legible to everyone. Being as rich as Croesus stuck because he turned geology into money you could count. His coins traveled, his reputation followed.
So if we sum it up, coins weren't born in a friendly marketplace. They were engineered by kings to tax, pay, and rule faster. Then the market adopted them because they saved time, right?
Perfect summary. Coins are the power tool that turned metal into trust at scale. They made empires more efficient and everyday trade smoother. And that first lion's head, stamped in electrum near Sardis, started a design race that still hasn't ended.
Give me a checklist. What actually makes something a coin, not just a fancy nugget?
4 things. 1. Standardized shape and weight so you can recognize and stack it. 2. An official stamp to certify authority. 3. Predictable metal content, good enough that people accept it without testing every time. 4. Legal or social backing so others will take it from you tomorrow. Lydia's electrum checks those boxes first in history.
Where does Aegina fit again? First Greek coin?
Aegina's turtle coin in the 6th century BCE was Greece's first major trade currency. Lydia invented the idea. Aegina scaled it across harbors.
And India's coins?
India's silver punch-marked coins appeared around the same time. Different tech, same goal. Standardized metal, trusted by everyone.
Last question, if someone says shells or rocks were first,
Say shells and stones were used as money in some cultures, but coins are a specific technology, standardized metal pieces with an official stamp promising value. The earliest known examples of that tech point to Lydia, electrum lions becoming gold and silver under Croesus, and then rapid spread to the Greek world, China, and India in their own styles.
got it, lions, turtles, owls, kings, taxes, soldiers, a stamp that turns metal into trust. That's the real story of the first coins.
Exactly, and it still echoes every time you reach for your wallet or check your balance on a screen.
Before we end, hit me with one fast myth buster.
Myth. Coins were invented to make trade fair. Reality. They were invented to make power efficient. Fairness was a side effect. And once the system worked for power, trade raced to use it.
Brutal but kind of inspiring history with teeth.
And with a lion's bite mark on the metal to prove it.
All right, I'm sold. Subscribe to keep learning the money stories behind the world you live in, and see you next time. Goodbye for now.